This is a very different episode. This is not about identifying something that's a challenge for us and finding a quick fix, a quick hit to find your way through and to move forward. What I want to do is bring attention to something that I think is a massive concern in our society today, something that is not talked about, and yet something that is impacting possibly you, but absolutely, certainly people you know, people you care about. And so many people are not doing anything about it. We need to raise awareness about this and start to move to action. And I'm hoping that this episode can do a little bit to help move in that direction. Hi, I'm Ravi Tangri, and this is Soul Engineering Your Life and Your Work. And what this podcast is about finding those ways, those simple, tiny pressure points where you can bring more of your heart, more of your soul into all of your life, into your work, into your play, into everything that you do. Now, normally what I do is look at one area that I'm seeing where people are stuck. A lot of people are stuck, and bring in some of my Jedi mind tricks, simple things that you can do to start to move things forward. Today is very different. This is something that happened to me recently that really, really concerns me. It's about something that I believe is an epidemic in our society today, but that we are not talking about. This could be something that's impacting you, but it is absolutely 1000% impacting many people you know about, that you care about. And yet so many people are not doing anything about this. And I believe it's getting worse. And it's interesting how this came into my awareness. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the one of the local farmers market, and I saw someone wearing this hoodie that I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I chatted with him about it, and I wound up ordering one. And a few weeks later, I was wearing that actually at that same farmer's market for the first time. And I was shocked that within hour and a half, 2 hours, 8 people came up to me to thank me for what the shirt said. It's not like, oh, cool, man, that's neat. These are people who just said, wow, thank you. I really needed to see that, to read that, to hear that. And not just people passing by, people that were behind me that tapped on my shoulder and said that, and said it in a very genuine way. And that sort of response has not declined whenever I wear it. So what does the sweatshirt say? The hoodie, it says on the front, it says, you are enough. On the back, it says, dear person behind me, the world is a better place with you in it. Love, the person in front of you. Now, supposedly these shirts were created by someone who lost a friend to suicide. I haven't done my due diligence in that area to find out if, the validity of that. But even whether that's true or not, I am amazed by the impact that these words have on people. It's left me almost speechless about it for a while, because it was, wow, that this reached so many people. But it reflects what I have seen as a growing, for lack of a better word, epidemic, and the data does support it. I'll share some of that with you in our society. I've seen it in my coaching clients. I've seen it among friends. I've even felt it in myself. There is something that started with the pandemic where there was a growth in loneliness, in depression, in suicide rates. And those numbers have not come down significantly. We learned during the pandemic to pull back, to be isolated, to be alone. And we have not unlearned those habits. And I think this is pervading our society. I can feel it among people that I talk to, professionally or personally, that there is this loneliness that is out there that can get exacerbated into other challenges. So what is the data? The data shows that loneliness has come down a little since the pandemic, but not much. So the habits of isolation that we learned in the pandemic, we haven't broken. We're still in that. There's a US study, Cigna US, that shows in 2023, 50% of American adults are experiencing loneliness. There's another British study that shows that at least 27% of adults are experiencing loneliness, and that was from 2023 as well. So, even if the Cigna US study is an overstatement, 27% is still pretty darn significant. And this moves into other areas as well. Depression. In an American study, pre-pandemic US, it said that 10% of US adults reported depression. In 2023, it had come down slightly from pandemic peaks, but it was still at 20%, double what it was prior to the pandemic. Now, I think there's a lot that we had to deal with in the pandemic. I personally believe a lot of people suffered from PTSD because of the pandemic, but how many people actually got treatment for these mental health challenges? Not a lot, as you're going to see. On a global scale, the World Health Organization estimated that prior to the pandemic, 3.8% of adults suffered from depression. There's a 2025 meta-analysis that showed that in the last few years since the pandemic, globally, that's at 12.4%. Now, that is way higher than it was prior to the pandemic. Suicide rates. There was a 4% rise in suicides from 2020 to 2021, the impact of the pandemic. But in 2022, as we were coming out of it, that climbed again, 1% in men, 4% in women. So that's also a troubling statistic, the fact that it is higher in women, the growth, than in men. But it's showing these are all impacts of this. Now, in terms of treatment, remember I said there's a lot of us. Some of us do get treatment for mental health challenges. A lot of people don't. There's a 2020 study from America that shows that half of adults with any level of mental health challenges did not get any treatment. If you looked more deeply at serious mental health challenges, 1/3 of adults did not get treatment. So that sort of pain is out there still. And to me, this is very serious. These are alarm bells going off. And yes, since the pandemic, there has been some improvement. There's also been a lot of changes since the pandemic. And then this year, with all the economic chaos that's going on, there's so much more uncertainty as well, adding to this. I don't know what the numbers are going to be like coming out of this year. Now, this is especially serious for those who are always there for others. If you're the one that everyone turns to, you're not only dealing with your own challenges, but you're supporting others in getting through theirs and helping them and being the one that they talk to. But who do you talk to? It does not matter how strong you are. We all at some point need a safe place to land where we can take the pressures of the world off and just feel supported, that we are not carrying all that. We learned, I believe, a lot of us learned not to reach out for help during the pandemic because there was so much going on. We were all over our heads. And those of us who are supporting our family members, our friends, the people who work with or for us, we felt all that much greater burden because we're there. We had to be there for others. We didn't have time for ourselves. And often it feels like there's nobody that we can turn to. Added to this is that a lot of people see asking for help as a sign of weakness. I was just talking with someone yesterday about someone they knew that said, "Oh no, I don't. That's weakness. If you go see a therapist, go see a counselor. That means you're not, you're not a real man or a real person. You're not strong." That's the biggest crock of shit I have ever heard. It takes great strength to reach out for help. It's weakness to not do that. We do regular maintenance on our cars. We do it on our computers now. We've got these programs that are running that are protecting, that are updating, upgrading. But we don't do it on ourselves. We don't get that help that's there. And for a lot of people, even putting aside professional help, they don't have a circle of friends that you can call to, a lifeline where you can go say, "Hey, we're going for a beer. We're going for coffee. I am going to vent. You are not going to say a word. I'm just going to dump all my frustrations and get it the heck out of me." We've learned not to reach out and just bottle it up, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing because we don't have an outlet. We've gotten used to changes in the stress at work. Yes, it was stressful in the pandemic. Yes, coming out of it. But did we deal with it? Look at the stress leave. Look at the short-term disability. Look at all of these things that are happening. The presenteeism, the absenteeism. Those are all signs that people are under pressure, but we're ignoring them. And for those of you who are leaders or business owners, the challenge is not only supporting yourself, but supporting your people in getting help, getting the resources that they need. If you see these signs, feel the pressure of what you've got to do at work, but you also see your people are under stress, are snapping at each other, are making mistakes. How do you deal with that dynamic and that tension? The fact is, if you keep pushing, the one thing you can be guaranteed of is that they are going to break. The people will break because this pressure is not letting up, as we can see looking around the world now. We need to support ourselves. We need to support our people. We need to support our families and friends in getting the support they need in whatever way that is. So what are solutions to this? I mean, there's no quick fix. We've taken years to build and embody this stressed response. You've probably heard me talk about every time there's a stress response, there's 30 hormonal changes, 1,300 chemical changes that poison our body. And I believe that there's an addictive factor that we get hooked on that. So we don't want to break that cycle because we need those toxins. We become really hooked on them. I think need to start taking a look at, okay, if I do nothing now, if I don't change a thing I do, where am I going to be at the end of the year? What will happen? Just take a look at what has been happening, how the pressure's been building, the mistakes, the stresses, the lack of sleep, all of that. What is going to happen by the end of the year if this continues? Forget it escalating, even at the same pace. If that pressure lets go, what could be different if you found a way to relieve some of that pressure? What could be different at the end of the year if you were able to get some support, to be able to reach out? And I'm not just talking about, oh, I'm running away down south for a week and I'm, whatever. Because what happens when you run away down south and you just soak in the sun, even if you don't respond to emails? You come back and within a day or two, it's like you never left, isn't it? That's not a lasting solution. I'm talking about ongoing support, ongoing shift. A vacation can be great if it is also a door to significant other changes. So some of the simple things that you can do are reaching out to a spouse, to friends, to colleagues at work or in the business world, the professional world, to have those conversations over beer, over coffee, over a walk that let you do some venting and just let stuff out. I'm not talking about wallowing. There's a clear line between venting and wallowing, but we do need to get this stuff out. And for many of us, it's gotten so much that we could really use some professional help, counselor, a therapist, a good one. And when you do reach out for that, one of the things I absolutely believe in is you need to shop for the right therapist. There's a lot of people out there with different approaches, different ways of doing things. They may not be a good fit for you. So you need to shop around. Don't just go to one and go, oh, that didn't work. They were useless. Try others. You might even try a half dozen. With my coaching clients, there's certain things I can do to help them, but there's a line where it goes to counseling and I help them find a right fit for them. Now, for a lot of you, you may have EAP programs at work where you have counseling services where you don't even have to pay anything. It's confidential and you've got those resources. Use them. How many of you use those EAP programs at work? How many of you use, if you've got the health benefits at work, often you get monthly massages and things like that. Those are ways to help as well. Small ways, but doing them consistently can make a difference. And that links to another piece, which is how do you nourish you? How do you refill your well? So that you're not just constantly living that stress response, constantly pushing and trying harder and harder. There's many things that you could do. Exercise, something that you love to do. If you've heard my podcast, you know I'm a dancer. I've tried running and it bores the living daylights out of me. But dance, I can go out and dance for hours. I've been to weekend-long dance congresses where you're doing workshops for 8 hours a day, and then you're dancing for hours at night. I never get enough because for me, it's joy. What exercise is joy for you? Even if it's just walking. Beach walks, another thing that nourish me. And that links to another thing, nature. Getting outside. When you're inside, there's often a lot more positive ions, which can tire you and bring you down and wear you down. Getting outside, there's a lot more negative ions that will invigorate you, that will help you move forward. And I have found that being in nature and especially being by water, I'm so grateful. I live near the ocean. There's very close to me, at least 8 different beaches that I can go for beach walks. And it is so amazingly healing. Just walking, not thinking, just walking and letting all that stuff go. It just takes it away and replenishes me. Hobbies. What sort of hobbies do you have that are fun, that are joyful? Hanging around people, being around people. And this is not just for the extroverts. Being an introvert, people have trouble believing, but I am an introvert, maybe not way down the scale, but I'm an introvert. I can go to a conference where I'm speaking at and be around people for 12, 16 hours, but I need to go back to my room and have about an hour to myself to recharge before I sleep. I need that space. That's the way I understand being introverted. It doesn't mean being alone all the time. Okay. So it doesn't mean you're going to be around lots of crowds, but there's nurturing that can happen with healthy relationships with even one or two people, someone that you can talk to. If you feel yourself very isolated, let's link it back to your hobbies. You can go online to a site called Meetup and find people that are interested in your hobbies. If you're interested in hiking, if you're interested in certain crafts, you find activities of people who are interested in the same crafts, so you can, or hobbies, and you can connect with them and start to get outside. Now, these may seem like big steps, but what I suggest is find a small step you can take. You know, going out for a walk or a hike may seem like a big deal. A friend of mine talks about, let's start by going outside your door and walking around the block and coming out back. That's a first step. It gets you out there. And it can be very hard, especially if you're suffering from depression, to break the inertia, to get away from that staying stuck in being alone and in that cesspool of suck. So don't put pressure on doing huge things. Take one step, walk around the block, use your lifeline, call a friend to go out for a walk or a drink or a coffee. You don't have to talk about what's bugging you, but just to be around someone. The EAP programs that are there, maybe start looking into that and see what is required to do that, and just to reach out. Take one step. Don't talk or look at the whole journey, just that first step. And that's all this is a bunch of ideas, not for you to do them all and see the list and get intimidated and and run away from it, but just pick one that has energy for you and take that. And that is a start. And then you think after that of, okay, what's one more step that you could do? But it's powerful when this message on this shirt that I wore touched so many people. We have so many people out there with a hunger for connection that are feeling so isolated. You are not alone if you're feeling that. Realize that. And for me, this shirt is just a very simple thing I can do. I've heard stories from people that have said that, just getting a message like that you are not enough, made a huge difference. Having one person to reach out to. There's a professional association that I'm a member of that has a peer support program, a confidential peer support program. If you're feeling pressure, they're not therapists, just someone to talk to, a friend, if you are feeling alone and isolated. And I know of at least one case, I don't know who it was, who has told people that they were literally suicidal. And just having that person to talk to brought them back off the ledge. It doesn't take much, but it's that connection, feeling that you are enough. There's this hunger there where people are feeling isolated, which can lead to a downward spiral. What I would love to see is people taking one step to go and take a step up instead of down. And as I said, this sweatshirt was one very simple thing that I could do that I hope is making a difference. This episode is another. If this is something that you agree with me, that you feel is important, please help me. If this helps, if you think it could help, share this with friends, share this on socials so the word gets out. whatever we can do for each other in these crazy times, let's do it. And if you are feeling stronger, and be careful about always being the strong one that's always there for others, but then you never do anything for it yourself. I'm talking about if you have been nourishing yourself and caring for yourself and have the resources to support another, you can see those who are feeling more isolated. What can you do? What are simple things that you can do that make a difference? To just have a conversation. I was in a line for an hour this past weekend voting for a national election. And there was an elder gentleman behind me who just so needed to talk and was chatting the whole hour. But the feeling is he doesn't have someone most of the time to talk to. I was there anyway, so why not have that conversation? Why not have that connection? And it helps you as well. So if this episode does one thing, if you are feeling this isolation, this disconnection, I encourage you to think about what's one simple step you could take that would allow you to nourish yourself, to get the resources, get the support that you need. And if you feel that you do have resources, that you are supporting yourself, that you are actually feeling strong, what are simple ways that you can help others build that connection? And finally, if this is a message that you think is important, please help me share it, pass it around so that we can hopefully reach more people just as this sweatshirt did for those random people who saw it as I was wandering around the farmer's market.
I got the energy, it's all I need to finish. And everyone that knows me knows that I can do this. Yeah, I know that I can.